Think about a person that is really important in your life. One relationship that is very deep, meaningful, and even complicated. Now think to yourself, have you ever gotten in a fight with this person? Many of you might be saying to yourselves, of course, fighting with people that you love or that are important to you is just a natural part of relationships. It seems strange then, when people are put into groups, that they tend to want to avoid conflict. We're going to deal with conflict and cohesion in this presentation. This chapter, like all other chapters, talks about how to balance two dichotomous relationships, one being conflict and the other being cohesion. And it might seem counterintuitive that we talk about these things in terms of balancing them against each other, because many people feel that you should avoid conflict in exchange for cohesion. But conflict is sometimes a sign that a group is actually working. In fact, some of the most effective groups are seen as battlegrounds behind the scenes, but they're able to pull it through. When we're talking about conflict, the easiest way to define it is the disagreement and disharmony that occurs in groups when members express differences. Now, these differences can revolve around many different issues, which will be addressed. But this particular definition gives us the framework for us to explore conflict. In order to do that, we're going to start by looking at constructive and destructive conflict, then look at different types of conflict, and finally, we're going to look at different conflict styles. The first concept regarding conflict that I want to cover is the difference between constructive and destructive conflict. These two terms might confuse people because it's automatically assumed that any conflict is destructive, but that's not the case. Constructive and destructive conflict are differentiated by what the goal is that gives rise to the conflict. What I mean by that is that if you are expressing conflict or creating conflict in a situation, and the purpose is to help the group achieve its goals, that's constructive conflict. You can disagree with somebody about how to achieve a particular goal, and that disagreement might actually come to a better decision-making process. But as long as everybody is still trying to achieve the same goal, that conflict is constructive. Now, compare that to destructive conflict, and destructive conflict means that the conflict is creating barriers to achieving group goals. That the conflict itself is preventing the group from working together and achieving whatever their outcomes are that they're trying to achieve. Constructive and destructive conflict are two sides of the same coin. They can arise at any given moment, but shying away from conflict in and of itself means that you avoid constructive conflict sometimes, even if that also means that you're avoiding the negative, destructive kind. So this is a really important concept to understand, and it's one of the easier ones to understand because it just comes down into those two parts.